So what happens when this quiet way of living continues for a long time? When solitude stops being a phase and slowly becomes a default setting? At first, nothing feels wrong. In fact, everything feels right. You wake up without emotional noise. You don't have to explain yourself. Your days feel lighter because there's less emotional friction. You feel like you've finally taken your power back. And that's real. That relief is real. But slowly, something subtle begins to change. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way that alarms you immediately. It's quieter than that. You start noticing that you don't feel pulled toward people the way you used to. You don't feel curious about their lives. You don't feel excited by the idea of shared moments. Not because you don't care, but because you've grown used to relying only on yourself. Independence starts to feel safer than intimacy. And here's the part nobody talks about enough. Emotional self-sufficiency is healthy. But emotional self-closure is not the same thing. One builds strength. The other slowly builds walls. Many people today confuse peace with numbness. They think, I'm calm, so I must be healed. But calm can sometimes come from avoiding anything that might disturb you, including connection, vulnerability, or emotional risk. When you spend too long alone, you get very good at managing your inner world. You learn how to self-soothe. You learn how to talk yourself through hard moments. You learn how to carry your emotions quietly. And while that's a beautiful skill, it can also make you forget how to share those emotions. You stop reaching out. You stop asking for support. You stop letting people witness your inner life, not because you don't want closeness, but because you've adapted to not needing it. And adaptation can slowly become isolation without you realizing it. Some people reach a point where they say, I don't miss anyone. And they say it with pride. But if you listen closely, there's sometimes a layer underneath that statement, a quiet grief that they don't fully acknowledge. Because missing people means caring, and caring means vulnerability. And vulnerability means risk, and risk is what hurt them before. So they choose distance, controlled distance, predictable distance, distance where they feel emotionally safe. The danger isn't solitude itself. The danger is when solitude becomes a shield instead of a space. A shield protects you, yes, but it also blocks warmth. You might notice that your tolerance for people becomes lower. Small things irritate you. Conversations draining faster than they used to. You feel misunderstood easily. You feel like no one really gets you, but at the same time, you're not letting anyone close enough to try. And that's the paradox. We crave understanding, but we avoid exposure. We want connection, but we resist dependency. We want depth, but we fear disappointment. So we hover in this middle space, not lonely, not connected, not unhappy, not fulfilled, just contained. And it's comfortable there. Too comfortable. This is where many people stay for years. They build a life that looks peaceful from the outside. They have routines. They have their own space. They enjoy their own company. They don't deal with drama. They don't feel emotionally overwhelmed. And yet, something feels slightly unfinished inside them, like a door that hasn't been opened in a long time. Because humans don't just need quiet. They need resonance. They need to feel seen. They need shared meaning. They need moments where their inner world meets another's and something expands. Solitude helps you find yourself, but connection helps you experience yourself. And when someone avoids connection for too long, they don't lose their identity. They lose contrast. There's no mirror anymore, no reflection, no friction that reveals growth. You don't realize how much you've changed because no one is close enough to notice. You don't realize how guarded you've become because no one is close enough to challenge it. And again, this isn't wrong, it's understandable. Most people didn't choose this consciously. Life pushed them here. Emotional exhaustion pushed them here. Repeated disappointment pushed them here. They didn't wake up one day and decide to disconnect. They slowly learned that silence hurt less than engagement, and silence does hurt less in the short term. But over time, emotional avoidance has a cost. It makes you less flexible emotionally, less patient, less open to surprise, less willing to let life move you. You start controlling everything, your schedule, your environment, your emotional exposure, and control feels safe until it starts feeling small. The heart isn't meant to be fully controlled. It's meant to be experienced. So how do you know if your solitude is healthy or if it's slowly becoming emotional withdrawal? It's not about how often you're alone, it's about how you feel toward people. If you feel curious, open, and calm, even if you don't see people often, that's healthy solitude. If you feel defensive, closed, irritated, or emotionally distant, that's a sign of something unprocessed. Another sign is how you respond to the idea of closeness. Not closeness itself, just the idea. If someone expresses interest in your inner world and you feel tension instead of warmth, that's not independence speaking. That's protection. And protection isn't bad. It just needs awareness, because the goal was never to shut people out forever. The goal was to stop letting the wrong people drain you. There's a difference. Some people overcorrect. They go from overgiving to underconnecting, from no boundaries to emotional isolation, from being too open to being completely guarded. Healing isn't about swinging to the opposite extreme. It's about finding a middle ground where your heart is open, but your boundaries are clear. And that takes practice. It takes choosing people slowly instead of avoiding people completely. It takes allowing small, safe connections instead of demanding perfect ones. It takes letting yourself be seen a little, not all at once. Because connection doesn't have to mean chaos. Intimacy doesn't have to mean loss of peace. Those are beliefs formed from past experiences, not universal truths. The most emotionally healthy people aren't the ones who isolate themselves forever. They're the ones who know when to step back and when to step forward, when to protect their energy and when to share it, when to be alone and when to let someone sit beside them in silence. And that balance isn't fixed. It shifts with time, with healing, with self-trust. The real question isn't, is living alone good or bad? The real question is, are you choosing solitude out of love for yourself or fear of being hurt again? Because those two places feel similar on the surface, but they lead to very different lives, and the answer to that question determines what comes next. This flows directly into Part 3, where we'll gently explore how to re-enter connection without losing peace, how to open the heart without repeating old patterns, and how to build a life that includes both solitude and meaningful connection. Don't forget to like, share, and comment on this video, and do subscribe to my YouTube channel if you feel connected with this content. Good luck, and stay safe.